Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel where we are usually talking about going gray and wavy hair. But today's gonna be a little different. We're gonna talk about my chronic illness. So if you are new here, I am so glad to have you. And if you have been with me for a hot second, happy to see you again. If you're new, go ahead and hit subscribe, hit that bell so you get notifications when I create new content. And here we go. I have a chronic illness. I have what's called dysautonomia. It is my particular dysautonomia is called pure autonomic failure. There are several different types of dysautonomia. Dysautonomia is kind of a big umbrella term. It isn't an actual diagnosis. It's more of a category in which a ton of different things fall under. I happen to be one of the lucky few that hits everything. Like everything. So your autonomic nervous system is responsible for controlling just about everything that happens, not just about, literally everything that happens in your body that you don't think about. So from eye dilation to the ciliary muscle in your eye that helps you focus on something far away and then read something up close without it looking like a funhouse mirror effect, which is the way it looks for me. It controls your heart rate, your blood pressure, your body temperature regulation, your kidney function, literally everything you don't think about. So when you have dysautonomia, none of those things happen in a normal way. It's kind of hard. If you exercise and you're doing something strenuous, your heart rate and your blood pressure change to help your body adapt to what you're doing, as well as your body temperature. All of these things are regulating themselves in response to something you're doing. When you have dysautonomia, those things that are supposed to be working for your body's best interest to help your body cope with what is happening around you, when you have dysautonomia, your body is not necessarily working with you. It can actually be working against you. My blood pressure will drop really low while my heart rate skyrockets. I also will decide to not digest food very well. Partial paralysis of your stomach happens when you have dysautonomia sometimes. It's called gastroparesis. So sometimes I just decide to not digest food. It's just a thing I do. Like all of a sudden your pupils could decide to dilate when you don't need them to dilate. So you can become really light sensitive because you're just not adjusting to the change in light. Your body temperature, it's a big issue for a lot of people with dysautonomia. In fact, I actually have developed Raynaud's syndrome, where something that happens when you're experiencing hypothermia happens to me randomly. So you're just full of fun tricks. So how in the world do you even find out you have dysautonomia? Interesting story. For me, I had been going to the doctor, and we're a military family, so I had been going from different states, different doctors, and would always be bringing up that like I was feeling heart palpitations, I would get dizzy, I would feel just really overwhelmed, just like sensory overload at really strange times for no reason. I remember before I got diagnosed, I even explained it to my husband one time. It's like I can turn around a different aisle of the grocery store and all of a sudden I'm sweating profusely. I'm like I could feel my heart rate in my throat. I'm dizzy, I'm nauseous. And all that has happened is I changed aisles in the grocery store. So when you try to convey that to a medical professional, you are very likely to be diagnosed with anxiety. And I am not saying that I don't have anxiety. I firmly believe that I do have generalized anxiety. However, there was always this not internal because it was literally happening out loud. There was this exchange that I was constantly in with medical professionals saying, yes, I agree that I'm anxious, but I'm anxious about standing in line at the grocery store because the last time I stood in line at the grocery store, I was so dizzy that I found it difficult to even go through the motions of paying and getting out to my car and trying to look normal. I happened to be in Florida on vacation. My family, I'm from Florida, and red tide came in. And if you've ever been around red tide, it will cause someone who has no respiratory issues at all to be struggling. So my oldest daughter and I went to a walk-in clinic only because I was having a hard time breathing. Then the doctor comes in and he talks to me for a while, and he tells me he doesn't really like what my heart rate is doing. And I'm still thinking that this has got to be because of the respiratory stuff. I'm really not thinking beyond that. And he has me do an EKG. And that's when he told me, he's like, every 7th beat, you are dropping a beat. Your heart rate is going from 110 to 51. That's kind of like that's my parameter, honestly. For years, it's kind of always been. He's like, you're ebbing and flowing in this range, which is not a normal range to just be existing in while you're sitting down or laying down and not doing anything. I'm still not thinking much of this as a big deal, because even though I had been off and on pursuing that I just don't feel right, I've always been assured by doctors that it's pretty much being told that it's just anxiety. So honestly, in my world, I'm thinking everybody is pretty much functioning, feeling the same way that I am. The way I feel is fairly normal and common. I'm just not doing a good job at existing with it, is how I kind of felt. So it never crossed my radar that there would be anything cardiac wrong with me. So this whole conversation was really just odd, and I didn't put a lot of faith into it. But anyway, he sent me with my EKG with lots of notes scribbled in, things were circled, and he told me, when you get home, go to your general practitioner, and you need to see a cardiologist, probably an EP cardiologist. So I got home, I went to my primary care doctor, gave her the printout, and and we even talked about it for a bit, and she said it was most likely nothing, but that we should look into it. So I went to an EP cardiologist. That's the first time that I heard autonomic issues. He was saying, that my autonomic nervous system wasn't working very well, that my brain was sending my heart the wrong signals. And that was starting to make sense. Like, if my brain is sending my heart the wrong signals, that's why I'm all of a sudden feeling this like panicky, overwhelmed feeling for no reason. So we did a lot of tests and we confirmed it. And that was the first time that I had got my diagnosis. However, he didn't know really what to do about it. So after I had the word dysautonomia, I did get a little sense of something to hold on to. So I did some research and I found an autonomic clinic in Florida that's no longer open, which is very unfortunate. The doctor there, Dr. Randy Thompson, not only was a specialist in dysautonomia, he has dysautonomia. And that's where I got a lot of answers, a ton of answers. And I walked away with information and feeling pretty empowered. But some of the stuff that we discussed that day, and that was almost 10 years ago now that it happened, some of it still rings really, really true. Dr. Randy Thompson told me that it would be normal to feel grief and denial. I honestly was feeling so empowered at the time that I didn't think I would feel those things, but I definitely did. It came later, but I did. I grieved for the things I assumed that I would do that all of a sudden didn't seem as viable of options for me, having a chronic and progressive illness. Denial hit me a little different, and it still does. Every once in a while, it would almost be like, there's no way this could be me. This can't be happening to me. I can't have this. Like, this isn't me. Denial hits usually when I'm embarking on a new treatment method that I somehow will feel like I don't deserve. Like when I got my power wheelchair, I was not able to participate in some events because they would hit on days where I was not well. And the power wheelchair allowed me to be able to participate even on days when I was not well, yet somehow I felt like I wasn't sick enough. Like, it was, which we all deserve to pursue things that improve our quality of life. period, end of story. The next things that I was told was relief in a diagnosis and empowerment. And I did feel those things. For my personality type, I thrive on information, and I am someone who I don't really like the gray area. I like for things to be right or wrong. So for me to have a word, several words, for me to have a label to put on this strange way that I felt helped me feel more confident in navigating the world. I was no longer suffering through being dizzy and nauseous and feeling on the borderline of passing out, but still trying to act like everything was fine. I didn't feel like I had to do that anymore. I was told that it's normal to feel depressed, and I was so empowered at the time that I just couldn't imagine being depressed. But the reality is that has ebbed and flowed. My depression, I had in my mind, I thought I knew what depression felt like, and I thought it just felt like being sad and not wanting to get up out of bed and just not caring about doing things. That is definitely a side of it. But the first time that I felt it, it was much more in an angry depression. I just wanted someone to blame. I just wanted it to be someone's fault that it happened to me, and it isn't. So it was just almost like this level of anger that didn't have a place to go because no one owned it. It wasn't anyone's, no one was on the receiving end of it. So it just kind of sat with me and bounced around, and it was hard. It was really hard. Acceptance is almost as powerful, but also comes and goes. And I think for me, it's hard because I was very open about my chronic illness. I was very open about the process of while I was getting diagnosed. I've been very open about the treatments that I do. Other people seem to project this level of comfort, maybe comfort's a poor choice of words, this level of strength and empowerment that I seem to radiate about it. So people assumed that I was strong with it. And even though I am sometimes, I am not always. It's very daunting to know that you are sick and that you will stay sick. And even when you get to a point where you're able to regain a lot of normalcy in your life, you're still sick. That's a hard thing. And that's why those things, even though I thought they were a checklist, and like once I hit each one, I was like, oh, done. But it's not a checklist. It's a parameter in which you will almost always be ebbing and flowing. So, and that's why I wanted to come on, and I really wanted to just share my illness and my experience with it, because I know that so many people have chronic illness. I know that we have Lyme warriors and lupus warriors and fibromyalgia warriors. I know that there are so many people out there who are battling, and I wanted to make sure that my voice was lent. I wanted to make sure that my voice was heard and received as a safe space. If you are struggling through the diagnosis process, if you are struggling through flares, if you're struggling through trying to find a treatment plan that works for you, I just really wanted it to be known that I'm here and that I understand. Again, I know this isn't like my normal content. If you have hung out with me this long, I do appreciate it. If you would like to hit subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. Give this video a like, hit the notification bell. If you enjoy hearing about my journey, let me know. Let me know if you have a diagnosis, if you're a chronic illness sufferer, if you are learning to navigate life in a way that you didn't expect to. Let me know in the comments. If you are looking for support, you can find me over on Instagram. Yes, I am talking gray hair and wavy hair stuff, but I am a real person, and my medical stuff is there as well, and you can always message me there. You can find me on Facebook. I'll throw links below. You can find me on TikTok. Since it didn't get banned, I'm over there being goofy still. You can find my blog if you're interested in writing. It is a new relaunch of a blog that I had a long time ago. So it's brand new, and I am excited to be contributing in that way as well. But that's me. You can find me in all those places.